Good morning. I'm Denise Dryden doing my weekly conversation with you about the different topics that come up in the coaching that I do, in the exploration that I do, in the conversations that I have. So today I want to talk about what happens when you can be manipulated. And when we really want to take that concept of manipulation and put it out there, right? What does it mean to be manipulated? So today with the full moon, and it's a full lunar eclipse, if you're here in the North American continent, and it is also, there's been just tons of solar flares going on, right? And there's just been a lot of chaos. So when we're looking at all of this stuff, it makes sense that we start to pay attention to things that don't quite appear the way that they feel. When there's some dissonance between what I'm feeling and what they're saying, or what I'm hearing and what I know, or what behavior I'm seeing and what my gut is telling me. So let's start first with the word manipulate, right? So to manipulate is to treat or operate something manually or with machinery, like to move it, control it, pace it. So you can manipulate a spine in chiropractic. You can manipulate waterways and dams. You can, it's sort of like, how do you move something in a direction you want it to go? How do you manage or influence something skillfully so that you're doing it with understanding, you're doing it with balance, you're doing it with with wisdom, or right, you're doing it to create imbalance, you're doing it to create unfairness, because manipulation can go both ways, right? We can manipulate in order to assist, or we can manipulate in order to break down. So manipulation is also persuasion or pressure, right? I can persuade you to do something you don't want to do. It can be a harmful influence on others, and it can create conditioned responses by design, right? Conditioned responses. And you're like, okay, here we go. Now this is getting interesting. It was a topic that, that comes to me a day or two before, and then as it starts to unfold, I just go like, oh, this is going to be so much fun to explore. So we learn how to manipulate our way through life as human beings. It makes sense. We grow up, we scan the world, we record it, and we play it back, and then we start to decide which ones to play back in which order to get our needs met, right? So we manipulate our parents, we manipulate the family, we can manipulate a group of friends, we can manipulate our colleagues. We learn how to do things that make them happy. We know how to do things to move them faster. We can manipulate perception, which is I may appear to be more powerful than I am, or I may appear to be able to assist you and I really don't. So what happens is we can put a false narrative out there in front of ourselves, and we can make sure that people align with that, right? We can manipulate a culture or a global situation by controlling news, by controlling media versions. We can control or manipulate shows, personalities, the way that we understand different events and how they unfold, right? So when there's manipulation on a large scale, and it doesn't always feel so good, sometimes it's creating a sense of false security. Sometimes it's creating a culture of fear or trepidation, or it's creating a culture of information that may not be true, right? So the bottom line is that manipulation is about power and control, and learning how to influence and shape what you want to create, what you want to have, what you want to be. And it's kind of like, if I do this, then that happens over there. So it's a cause and effect scenario. So we use language, and we use tools, and we use actions to create influence, to create confusion, to create dissonance. And so I had a lot of fun with it when I broke this down into I'm always going to go to the elements, because that seems to be, as I use my astrology background, the easiest way for me to understand how to compartmentalize, or how to understand and separate specific actions. So if we're looking at manipulation and how it shows up in the mental realms, it's how we build constructs. It's how we build facts to support what we want. And if you've ever, said no to a kid about a movie or a camp or a sleepover or a purchase of a car, or whatever, they can build a construct of facts that are so big and so intimidating, and they can be distorted, and they are designed to overwhelm, which is, like, it's going to start at this time. I thought about the ride. I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. And you're looking at the mental construct and you're like, wow, this is creating confusion in me. And it's also, I'm watching how the facts are being used to rationalize what the story needs to be for the person giving those facts, right? So in the mental part, it's where you build constructs and use statistics, facts, words to back them up. With the physical, it's how you move things and control things, whether it's with body language, whether it's with time, whether it is with behavior, right? Like, hey, all of a sudden you see your teen washing all the dishes and cleaning up after your dinner. You're going like, this is unusual. This may not always happen, so something's up, get ready, right? So you can manipulate the physical world by moving things around and controlling them. Let's look at the spiritual, which is, I like to think of it as the fire or the flame or the passion, right? It's where the intensity can go up or down, or the connection can step in or step back. It's where the volume can be raised. It's where the momentum can be enforced. That's where you see temper tantrums. That's where you see someone yelling when they don't get what they want. That's when you see someone step in real close and start to use sensual sort of warmth building things when they want what they want, right? So that momentum can be used like a flame, like turn it up, turn it down. And there are many parents, and myself included, where when you're dealing with children that use anger to get what they want, it's really hard to sort of hold your balance when someone lets you know that they will start to accelerate their behavior in order to get what they need. And then the fourth one is emotions or emotional, which is where feelings, where the way that we demonstrate who we are and how we feel is being influenced at all times. So we cry, we smile, we laugh, we use energy to sway or influence. And I have a little 16-month-old granddaughter who it spends enough time at daycare to watch the other kids, and all of a sudden she's come over and she does this fake cry thing. Like, it's just not working. I look at her and I'm like, wow, I haven't seen this one before on you. And then she kind of looks at me like, that didn't work, huh? But I notice that that's something that's completely natural for all of us, is to be able to manipulate our feelings or to manipulate someone else's feelings in order to get what we want. So what happens is that we are asserting ourselves. We're trying to go for control, and we bypass clear communication. We don't know how to ask for what we want, so we start to move the pieces outside the external world around. So it's sort of like, if you do this, then I will, as opposed to, I'm going to do this. What do you think about that? So it's a lack of clarity about self. It can be blame-based. It can be, it's just sticky. That's the best way I would put it. And when we're in a situation where we are feeling manipulated, it creates doubts in us and in our perceptions. And, that doubt, I work almost specifically with clients who are getting in touch with their energetic reading, their intuitive skills, and their gut feelings, and sort of going like, I don't think they're right. I don't think they're right, because we have manipulated the external environment to not understand that our gut feelings matter. So whether it's our intuition, whether it's our intelligences of how we put things together, whether it's the pace, what is our comfort zone, how fast or how slow you're going to go, or the reactions that we have within ourselves. What happens is when there's manipulation, when there's manipulation in a family system, in a relationship, in a parent-child relationship, in a work relationship between a boss and an employee, what happens is it creates hypervigilance, there's control and overmanagement, and there's an internal negative dialogue, which is like, I don't think I'm capable of doing this, or I wish I knew more. And you're thinking, what's happened? How did I lose my sense of self? So I have 6 tips for you today on what you can do when you feel like you are being manipulated. Number 1, check in with yourself. Ask for time and space. When you're feeling pressured or pushed or uncomfortable or reactive, just check in and go, am I? And I use yes, no's. I use a lot of different ways to do that. And there's videos that you can go back and look at as far as yes and no's. Check in with yourself. Is this what I'm actually feeling? And you're like, oh, okay, now I know. Number 2, resist the justifications. Oh, she's just a little girl. She's cute. Or he's been sick for a long time, so I've been letting him talk me into staying up later. Or, this was a good one with a lot of us empaths who choose men or partners that are wounded, right? Which is, oh, they've had such a hard life and I just want to make it easier on them, right? Or when we cave because it's not worth the irritation or the being uncomfortable. So we put things in front like, oh, it's okay for just tonight, right? So it's where we misplace our trust or our ability to act based on a story that we're telling ourselves. Number 3, to be wise and calm and direct. So you create internal balance first, right? You slow things down so they get to your own pace. You use your authentic voice and you speak directly to the person. I noticed that you've been pushing me really hard about going to the movies tonight. And I wonder if there's something going on that you're not telling me. Or I wonder what else is underneath it because I haven't seen you push this hard. So what you do is you go right straight at it, but you're gentle and you're firm. So you hold your heart and you're also firm with that, right? Number 4, know your boundaries. Trust when you feel like they're being pushed and hold them, because the only person who's going to hold your boundaries is you. This is not someone isn't going to come in and honor them or step on them and say, ooh, sorry, I did that. What we have to do is we have to say, this is my boundary. This is what I hold. And right now, I'm not willing to have a conversation with you about going to the movies tonight because it is very uncomfortable and I'm just going to put it off and maybe another night. Right? And then that there might be an escalation, that there might be some temper tantruming. You also know that there might be some silent treatment or some withdrawal. That's when you know that you had been manipulated because the answer isn't something that's easy for them to take. Number 5, ask for time to break the cycle, especially for those of you who have teens or have a friend that doesn't respect your no, is, ask for time. So you collect your observations and your feelings and you use your kick-ass observer, right? Which is I need more time to put these pieces together because you've been dumping a lot of facts on me or you've been moving your emotions around and I feel like I need to get my feet on the ground first. So you can always ask for time. It was a great love and logic thing. Let me think about this and I'll get back to you tomorrow. Right? 6, within Sun Tzu's The Art of War, there is this process where you state what you want or what you need, and you say it to the other person. The next person who talks loses. So if you state your boundary, this is, nope, we're not going, it's not a good idea to go to the movies tonight. I made the decision, no. If you talk after you've said that no, then you've lost. Oh, because, I was thinking it's late and, and so when you're in that negotiation phase or when you're, working on somebody trying to do something and you state who you are, what you're going to do from a position of direct clarity, or you go, I all of a sudden figured out that something else is going on, to hold yourself solid. And you don't try to back it up with a backstory. You don't flesh it out for them. You just hold the no. So when we are feeling manipulated, we can feel it in our skin. We can feel it in our bodies. Our energy is there's a dissonance and it doesn't feel good. And these are some of the tools that we're learning. And I'm wondering if this isn't some of our top skills to use over the next few months or years as we start to watch what some of these false narratives, false presentations, false relationships have been, and they are starting to fall apart. So if you would like more information on this, by all means, check out my website at denisestryden.com. And also this Wednesday, I'm doing the the May version of the Indigo Frequency with Lisa Gunshore. So feel free to join me there, and you'll see some promotions for that on this site as well. You take care. Have a great Sunday. Get out and see the lunar eclipse if you can. Take care. Bye-bye.